Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Judging for the Win. I'm Dave Eldon, and with me is Dalton Grimes, and we've got a special treat for all of you. First of all, we have a special treat that we're actually here and broadcasting again. Welcome back to everybody who was a loyal friend of ours and is back for more. Whatever kind of content it is that we produce.
Yeah.
So
now, Jeff,
Oh
David.
boy, I don't know if I should be honored or offended.
I was just talking about Jeff Bezos.
Okay, honored. Excellent.
Okay. Now, David, if I recall correctly, we started this broadcast the first Thursday of 2018.
Yes.
Right?
And so what better time than the second Thursday of 2019?
Just a little bit later.
To come back for more. So, it's the new year. Everybody's making New Year's resolutions. Dalton, have you got any New Year's resolutions?
Write more reviews.
Okay.
That would put my total from 0 to 1 or 2.
More. That would be more. That would be
more than 0 is an easily attainable goal.
Wait a minute. You were level 2. You got promoted to level 2 last year.
I did do my level 2 reviews.
Well, there you go. That's more than 0.
But since then, there hasn't been any.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
What about you?
Yeah. My New Year's resolution is to prepare for the new sets that are coming out.
Ooh. I know a couple great guys who would be really, really good at passing on some information.
Really?
Yeah.
Who would that be?
That would be me.
Okay.
And that would be you.
Yeah. All right. So that is what we're going to be talking about today, everybody. We're going to be talking about the new sets and how you can prepare for them. And that is really something that I'm really excited about, of course, because that's basically what most of my projects are, is helping people prepare for stuff like that. And so we're going to be talking about some of the resources that I use and Dalton uses, and getting any suggestions from anyone in the Twitch chat too. We'll be sure to pass those along also. So really, really excellent and fitting. And the new set is coming out in just a couple of weeks here. Be sure to keep on that.
I think it drops on Arena sometime later next week.
Yeah, something like that.
So,
and obviously, if you're going to SEG Indianapolis, that would be the weekend after the release of that set. So,
yep, feel free to come say hi. It's going to be new standard.
Both of us are going to be new standard.
Yeah, so we'll get to see some of the sweet new cards coming out. So David.
Yeah.
Why do I need to pay attention to the new sets? Does it really matter? It's just Magic, right?
Boy.
I already know Magic.
So that's a really interesting question. I'm not sure if anybody has ever asked that question in the world. See,
why do I have to pay attention
for me at least, it's not a have to, it's a get to. And for sure, when I am in the middle of the spoiler season, I'm hitting refresh every day on my spoiler website. And definitely trying to get as much new set information as possible, as often as possible. So, I'm not sure if that's a problem that people are going to have. But if it is, if that's you, if you're one of those stick in the mud types who doesn't like spoiler season, it's important because knowing what you're doing is important. And in order to know what you're doing, it helps to not be doing something the first time. That's my personal opinion.
Definitely.
Do you think so?
The first time I go to make a call about a new mechanic, I don't want it to be the first time I've seen that mechanic.
Yeah, that would be a little...
Because I can tell you for a fact, Blood Operative was one that came out in Guilds of Ravnica. And there were some interesting questions that popped up on Twitter before this card released.
I remember those.
Yeah, so when you surveil, if it's in your graveyard, you may pay 3 life. If you do, return it to your hand.
Right.
So there was a big...
What if you surveil Blood Operative?
Exactly. There was a big little brouhaha of, well, if I surveil and Blood Operative's in the thing I put in the graveyard, does it trigger?
Yeah, would it?
And I can 100% say I got it wrong the first time I looked at it.
A lot of people got it wrong.
I'm not surprised. It's a really interesting card. And now that I fully understand the reason behind how it works, it makes sense. But if I had showed up at my pre-release event and someone said, hey, Dalton, I just surveilled this into my graveyard, can I put it back? said, sorry, bud, no.
Yeah, yeah, and so like this sort of thing really exemplifies the reasoning for it, and you know, like it's not even that it's that, you know, this is a rare card, obviously, but like definitely possible to show up. Or how about I have to remember how to spell this card here. This is a tough one. So like Mentor is another great example, right? So like with Mentor, it's a pretty simple mechanic, you know, as far as like the text goes. There's only like 2.5 lines of reminder text on there, but the way it works is actually got a lot of like kind of weird wrinkles in it. And so like, for example, you know, if you had a 4/2 and another 4/2 that you were both going to mentor onto a 3/3, would the 3/3 get 2 +1/1 counters?
That's a good question.
So like,
and
you know,
it does not.
Yeah, the answer is no, of course. But if you were looking at this mechanic for the first time, it would be very, very much in the realm of possibility that you would not see that immediately. The second instance of Mentor is going to get countered on resolution, or removed from the stack on resolution, due to the fact that its target is not legal anymore. The creature will have the same power. So stuff like this, these types of things. If you have not seen the mechanics or have not seen the cards beforehand, it's very difficult to go in and be confident that you're going to be giving the right answer a lot of the times, because even people who have, let's say, an above average understanding of the rules have definitely gone in, got an answer wrong on their first reading of a card because they didn't understand exactly how everything worked. And so definitely lots of preparation, you know, is the only real antidote to problems like that. So.
Yeah, and that's also just not to say that new mechanics are the only reason to look at a new set. If you have something like a master set coming out, there could be changes to the rules or possibly how things are worded.
Not to the rules generally with the master set.
Not usually.
Not unless there's some really big problems with the rules.
Yeah. So, do you remember when the Blood Moon rule changed on how things enter?
I want to say that was like a couple of years ago, so like Amonkhet block somewhere, if memory serves.
Okay. It used to be that if you had a Blood Moon out on the battlefield and a non-basic card was going to enter, such as a Shockland, you would have to choose whether or not you wanted to pay 2 life, regardless. And regardless of that decision, it would still enter as a mountain.
Yeah, but you could pay 2 life for no reason, and it would enter the battlefield tapped or untapped.
Exactly.
As you wanted.
They decided that rule was dumb and changed it later. And where would that change have come out? It would have come out in possibly one of the new set releases, one of the new set notes.
That is when they do. So for those of you who don't follow this like a bunch, like super specifically, I'll tell you guys a little bit about the release schedule for the comprehensive rules, because like I said, if this isn't something you've ever looked at, like for me, I follow the CR updates about as excitedly as I follow the spoiler season. Why are you laughing at me, John?
I am laughing because on our Twitter page, you follow one profile.
Yeah.
And it is
Judging News.
Judging News.
Which is also my
because
account.
It's the most important.
It's because it's my account. Like, I followed both of those are my accounts, guys. But you know, like if you don't know how the release schedule for the CR works, here's what they do. They release a new version of the CR at least 4 times a year. And that corresponds to when they come out with the new sets. And so that obviously makes sense, because hey, you know what they need to do in order to make new mechanics like Mentor work?
They need new rules.
They need to add them in the CR, okay? Or like, you know, there's some rule that has like all the creature types listed in it, and so anytime they have a new creature type, they have to update the CR, or like all the planeswalker types too. That's another really big one. So like, anytime there's a new planeswalker, they need to update that one specific rule that has. So obviously it makes sense, right? Like whenever they come out with a new set, they got to come out with an update to the CR. So okay, that's pretty obvious. They also do it when they come out with like Battle Bond, for example, or the commander sets when they come out with that stuff. That so that's generally like about halfway in between set releases is approximately when that is. So they generally, the way it works is there's like a major update that coincides with all the new sets, and then there's a kind of minor update that's like in between those.
Yep.
So that's how it works with the CR updates, and so it's an even better time to like be looking at stuff and paying attention to stuff because there's like CR changes potentially that you'd have to be aware of.
Yeah, so as a judge and as a player, it's really important to be familiar with those mechanics before you go into an event.
Oh yeah.
Because you want to know how they work.
Yeah, and hey, not all cards have reminder text on them too.
Not all cards have reminder text. Not all cards have these big, fancy spoiler seasons. Usually don't have pre-release events for commander sets or something like that. I know that's not as big at like a store level, but I know that locations like Gen Con have commander events where you get the sealed pack of commander decks. And if you're doing an event where there's prize tickets that are live for this event and you don't know how the cards in the deck work,
so like I don't care about commander at all.
No.
Sorry for all the judges who I probably just like hurt.
But you have to pay attention.
But yeah, like even I like pay attention to the commander season spoilers because I know that even though I'm not personally probably going to have to play with any of these cards, these mechanics are now a part of the game that I'm a judge for, and so therefore I'm responsible for knowing how they work.
And you know where commander cards can end up?
Legacy. Image. The dissatisfaction is pretty real on that one there, folks. Like,
yes.
It'd be really great if I didn't have to pay $30 times 4 every time a new Legacy playable card got printed in a EDH deck, and then throw 99 of the cards in the trash can because I'm not going to use them. But that's a broadcast about how the formats are balanced or something. Maybe that'd be a good idea for a future one, right?
We just balance stuff all episode.
One of my New Year's resolutions is to stop complaining about stuff. But since I play Magic, I'm not sure how that one's gonna go.
No, I don't think you could consider yourself a Magic player and then not complain about anything.
Yeah. I don't know how that works. So that's the first and most obvious thing is that whenever the new set comes out, it's obviously important that you should be acquainted with the new mechanics and the new stuff that's going on, the themes of the set at a minimum. And so I understand everybody here is busy. That's why they spend an hour of their time that they could be spending other stuff watching this specific broadcast because we have the information density that. Maybe. But anyway, your time's valuable. Your time's valuable. That's the important thing. And so if you only have X hours of time to devote to Magic and prepping and stuff, at least the first thing I would do is all the new mechanics and all the themes of the set, and that should be something that you should be able to knock out in maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And so if you do that, you should be ahead of the curve on most of the questions. That's probably the biggest bang for your buck. The next biggest bang for your buck, what would you say is the next thing you would do if you have, let's say maybe you don't have 15 minutes, maybe you have a whole hour to prep for an event, beforehand. What would you be doing after you acquainted yourself with all the new mechanics and the set themes?
Proactively, I would be trying to look at any ways that it could go wrong.
Okay.
So for example, player says, hey, I cast the spell during my main phase. It has addendum, and I forgot to do the addendum thing.
Ooh, that's rough.
What's
the name of a card that has addendum?
I couldn't tell you.
I should have prepared more. Continue talking, though.
So that's something that I, as a judge, would want to make sure I'm aware of, is how to deal with something that could go wrong. For example, the Orzhov Syndicate in this new set.
Why is the last one?
The Orzhov Syndicate has Afterlife. When this creature dies...
No. Go back to addendum. We already looked it up.
Okay. Well...
I can't look up all these cards on the fly. This is actually a skill. Okay, so here's a card with addendum if you haven't seen
Sphinx's Insight. Player says, hey Judge, I cast Sphinx's Insight. It was in response to something else, but I forgot it was in my main phase, so I didn't gain 2 life.
Right.
How do I fix it? I want to be proactive at knowing what that is going to be and how I would look at that as a judge.
Yeah.
At competitive rules enforcement level, this would be a game rule violation. We need to figure out what has gone what has occurred since the spell was cast, whether or not a rewind would be in question, whether or not that feels comfortable or something could change. I want to be aware of that.
Right.
And regular rules enforcement, I want to say, hey, did this happen? Yes, we both agree it was in the main phase. Cool, let's gain our 2 life, or however we want to resolve that. So
yeah, so like that's step 1 would be the mechanics and the set themes. Step 2 would be like asking yourself what potential problems could I see with the mechanics and the set themes. So I would kind of consider that to be like something you could do as you were reading, and as you were going through that kind of stuff. So that's probably not that bad. Right?
I am dedicating a whole hour to it, David.
Okay.
That was your question. This is my hour.
All right. So the next resources you would consider, or the next things that you would do after you felt comfortable that you knew what all the new set mechanics were, what would be the next stuff that you would do after that point?
Look at the cards.
Look at the cards. Okay. So yeah, read through the spoiler, and that probably you could accomplish within about an hour. Is what I would say. So like after you like know what all the themes are, now you should know what all the cards are, and there's probably gonna be
What?
Well, I was gonna say there's probably gonna be I remember what it's called. There's probably gonna be a card.
Captive audience. Yes.
Oh come on, man! Like you understand that people can't see the card until I hit OBS and then put it up on screen.
I'm aware.
Yeah, so like there's gonna be
excited.
a couple of cards that you can kind of pinpoint as gonna be like the problem child, as they say. Or what's Tessia's title?
Did you notice that Captive Audience has Bibblethip in it?
Yeah, no, I didn't. He must be lost though. He doesn't look like he fits in.
Totally.
Yeah.
Fibblethip
What's Teysa's title in this set?
Teysa Orzhov Usurper, or no, Teysa Karlov. Sorry.
This is like you get an extra afterlife.
Teysa Space Karlov. Yes.
Okay, you better be right. Or this is another great example of an obvious problem child. So like as you go through, you maybe this is me. Does stuff like this stick out to you too, Dalton? Like when you're going through the spoilers. Like for me, when I saw this card, I was like, what an awesome idea for Wizards to print this card. I'm sure that this is going to be like showing up on 1 or 2 questions.
Hey Judge, I wrapped the board. Teysa's now gone too. Do I get double the things?
How many like triggers do I get? So pretty interesting card. A lot of interesting stuff. But be sure to read the new set digest for all the answers to those questions.
Hey Dave, what's the new set digest?
Well, we'll be talking about that later. Don't worry. That's another really good resource. Like after you read it through all the cards.
Yeah. So definitely identifying things that might be a little bit question intensive.
So the good news is most of the time these tend to be at rare or mythic. Okay.
Correct.
So that's good because that means that like your first exposure to the new set, which is probably going to be a pre-release, you're like less likely to see them, and you're less likely to see the other stuff that So for example, this card here isn't a problem until you get some triggered abilities. That trigger on it leaving the battlefield.
Yep, you have to have someone who opens both Teysa Karlov and enough afterlife support to make it worth it.
Or like some other stuff and like some mass removal maybe or something. So the point is that in a pre-release, it's not going to be as big of a problem because the chances that it shows up is kind of low. So that's kind of where we were going with that, and that makes sense, right? So that's kind of the thing. The good news is that like you were saying, most of these like problem child cards tend to be rare or mythic, and so that's going to reduce the frequency that you are going to encounter them in the early ones, and it's going to give people time to see these questions and have them come up and like get official answers for them. So that's good too.
Yay!
But like at the same time, like start looking for them because if you see something like that, it's not going to catch you completely off guard. You're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember this guy.
And what's nice is when so the spoiler season is a scheduled event for those who are unaware. Yes, some stuff will drop or occur beforehand and things get leaked, but more or less, they have a date by which all cards should be revealed for a set.
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to see that whole set before the pre-release event that occurs.
Yeah, and
You're
it'll
not
be
gonna
like close to a week beforehand that
Yep.
you'll have to just look at all the cards and know what they do. And that's important if you, like, for example, we're going to do a pre-release in a foreign language, for example. That happened to me. That's a real life story that happened to me. I did a pre-release in Chinese. I couldn't like read Chinese, so like all the cards were you had to remember what they did, and if you didn't remember what they did, then hopefully you could work it out. So
Ouch.
that was tough. I won.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
The whole thing?
Yeah. I
Ooh.
went like 4 or 5-0.
What's that?
It was Rise of Eldrazi.
Oh, okay.
So the Keening Stone tech it got me there in a lot of games.
Okay.
Keening Stone's like really good.
I mean, yeah.
Because there's like a ton of like walls and Eldrazi signs that you can use to like block for you. So yeah.
Yes, so you're not going to be taken by surprise by these things. So make sure that you pay attention to those cards. I know that I have yet to do that for Ravnica Allegiance, but that's going to happen.
Yeah, we got, like,
I'm going to
2
make
weeks
sure to
until
do
the
so
whole set's
before the
out.
set's out.
Yeah.
Yes. And as I mentioned as well, I know that the cards are going to be available on Arena before they're available in a pre-release.
Yeah.
So that will also give people time to see this product and interact with it before they actually have to know the rules.
Right.
Because on an online application, it's going to be able to take care of some of those things for you.
Yeah.
If you're not sure how many Teza triggers you get when the board is wiped, the game's going to tell you.
Yeah.
So that's pretty great and definitely going to help me along as I get through the event.
Yep. Okay. So let's say that you're like a really, really conscientious judge, and you, in addition to like knowing all the themes and knowing all the set mechanics and reading all the spoilers, so you still want to prepare more. What would be the next thing you could do that could increase your increase how prepared you are and like be the most time efficient?
I don't know.
I'm putting the new set digest.
I was going to say, are you trying to toot your own horn?
No, I'm not trying to. I am like
Yes.
we're hard in the horn tune business. So like a few years ago, I realized something, and this is something that really bothered me, which is that, you know how I said before how like the new rules, the new CR came out at the same time as the new set.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's not at all that comes out at the new set. They also have the new IPG and the new MTR at the same time, and they also update the Oracle. Anytime they need to go through the Oracle and they need to make changes, such as for instance when they made it so that Lightning Bolt does 3 damage to any target rather than target creature or player. That was a change that they made in the Oracle. Or like sometimes they do like dumb stuff, like they change the wording of Teferi to say up to 2 target lands. Or for example, they'll like change, you know, some stuff and not be a functional change, but it'll just be like, yeah, you know, we noticed that this card was worded differently from all these other cards that have the same type of effect, so we changed it so this one other card has the same templating. So they do that, and all of those changes happen at the same time. And the problem is that all those changes don't get talked about in the same spot, which is really rough if you're the sort of person whose job it is to, well, no, I'm pointing to where it says Magic Judge. See, so like, if you're the sort of person whose job it is to make sure that you're understanding all those changes, it's kind of important to be aware of all of them. And so what I did is I started writing some articles that basically like summarized what all these changes were.
Also, if you've never looked at a set's release notes,
That's the
They
set
are-
FAQ. Yeah.
they are miles long.
Yeah.
Because
And they have like stuff for every card, but like most of it is stuff that's like obvious in my opinion.
Yeah, so for
because they're
example-
like geared towards players, right? So like they publish them on the Wizards website.
yes, and for something like when Guilds of Ravnica came out, any card that had Mentor on it, it would have the same Mentor notes for all of them.
Yeah.
So it makes the page so incredibly redundant that it's a
You can't read
nightmare
through
to
it.
actually
Like even
try
I
to
couldn't
go
read through it all.
Oh yeah, Once you read through 2 or 3 creatures that have mentor, you just look and you say, "Great,
Yeah,
this
your
is
eyes
the same
like glaze
thing."
over. And if there's like a different thing, if there's like one specific thing that's on like one specific, like if Tajik has different notes because it has some other stuff in addition to just mentor, you know, you've already read like all that text on like Barging Sergeant and whatever the next alphabetically mentor creature is.
Pull one up for me.
What? What? A
Salamander
mentor?
Drake, not mentor. So this is one that I missed because I had seen adapt so many times that I was just like, great, this is adapt. I know exactly what it is. Are we going to get there? Okay, so we'll see if it pops up. Salamander Drake is a 1-mana creature. It's that guy. But that one appears to be foreign. It's a 1-mana 1/1 flyer in blue that has adapt 4 for blue and 7. And I saw that and I was like, okay, great. This card has adapt with an unreasonable cost. I don't get it. Well, Salamander Drake also has a line of text that says this ability costs 1 less to activate for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. Which it turns out it can be super relevant. Maybe not necessarily in limited or sealed because you don't have that same ability to work around your deck to create exactly what you need. But when it comes to standard or constructed play, when you have decks out there like is it Drake's deck in standard and all these decks that just sling spells all over the place,
Oh yeah, very relevant.
it's going to become significantly more relevant. So when that player has a turn 1 Salamander Drake and on turn 4 they can pay the activation cost, if I hadn't seen that text, I would have said, no player, you're dumb. That says 8, duh.
Yeah.
And then they would have pointed that text to me and I would have looked like a giant moron.
Yep.
Not only would I have looked like a giant moron, but now the integrity of the event is in question because that head judge is a giant moron. So it looks like we can't find that in our system yet.
Yeah, it's rough.
But
it's a new card. That's spoiler season for that, I guess.
yeah, so Salamander Drake. Creature type, Salamander Drake.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Joining the long list of creatures whose type matches their name, such as Assembly Worker, or Giant Zombie, or you know, there's actually quite a few of them. Those are my 2 favorites, though.
So make sure to read all cards carefully.
Yeah.
Even if you think you know the thing,
Yeah.
make sure to read it carefully. But also go and check out that new set digest.
Yeah, do that too. So if you go to blogs.magicjudges.org/ftw, that it'll be published on there. It's published 1 week after the set's release. That is the time frame that I usually stick to. So the link is going to be down below whether you're watching this on Twitch or on YouTube.
Is that 1 week after the pre-release or
No,
the
the
official
release.
release? Okay.
The reason for that is because the CR and MTR and IPG changes generally take, it's not generally the case that those are released before pre-releases. So,
Yep. So definitely give that a shot. Do you do not trivia? Do you do practice questions?
what do you mean practice questions? It's all questions. That's what it is. It's a bunch of questions and it's all the answers to those questions.
Yep. So you're not reading an article. It's not, okay, this is
Yeah,
how...
it's not a slog. Well,
Exactly. It's not, this is how Riot
not
works.
as much as a slog.
It's more like testing yourself.
It's
It's more
question
like
and
checking
answer
your
format.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's a lot more fun than one might think.
Well, it's as much fun as I could make it, given that it's something that's basically studying. So
Yeah. If you can trick yourself into making studying fun,
yeah,
then you've done a pretty decent
yeah,
job.
that's a tough one. So okay, that is our plug for my cross promotion as they call it in the biz. But so let's say we read the new set digest. That's great.
Yep.
What's
I looked at my spoilers.
Yeah.
I identified the problem child.
Yep.
Children. Chillins. I've read my new set digest. Am I ready?
I would say yes. At this point, like anything more would be like, you're spending more time, but you're not significantly increasing your chances of going from wrong to right on a question. Is my personal opinion.
Yep.
So the other stuff you could do would be like there's some other types of resources that you can read. So for example, let's say you like Two-Headed Giant.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I do.
Or maybe someone
Actually,
you
I'm
know,
a fan.
maybe some store has a bunch of players that like Two-Headed Giant. So,
Sure.
it doesn't have to just be you. There is a specific Two-Headed Giant document that's like it goes through all the sets, cards, and their implications for 2HG. And so like basically it's like the set FAQ but for Two-Headed Giant.
So this past weekend, David and I were in Columbus.
That's true. We were.
And I had a judge who I mentored. I made him an L1.
Ooh.
He said, "Hey man, why don't they ever do Two-Headed Giant GPs? That would be
Boy.
so fun."
Did you point him to a video that we
Boy,
already
did
put
I
out?
lay into him. Yes. He said that, and the first words out of my mouth were, "Man, you should go talk to Dave Elton."
Like, aw. So, for those of you who didn't see that video, they did have a Two-Headed Giant GP once. There
As it
were
turns out,
one or two issues that came up.
no one knows the rules.
Well, that
for
was one of
Two-Headed
the
Giant.
issues. That was one of the issues. But yeah, like if you want to like rectify that, or hey, like Two-Headed Giant is actually really interesting because like a lot of the cards work significantly differently in Two-Headed
yeah.
Giant. And so like this thing, the Two-Headed Giant resource, which is like on blogs, the Magic Judge Blogs network, there's an official Two-Headed Giant blog that puts this out. So you can find that there. And that is absolutely great if you're the sort of person like me who doesn't watch, doesn't read a lot of Two-Headed Giant and doesn't play a lot of Two-Headed Giant. But hey, for a couple days out of the year, I have to know how it works.
Yep.
And so as a result, if you read through there, that's a good place to start to get some extra help on that.
Also important to think about where you're going to be playing or where you're going to be judging at, because if you are not going to be at a store that does Two-Headed Giant events and you don't plan on making out to a larger event where you might be doing sides and leading Two-Headed Giant events, then it's not as pertinent that you spend time studying that. You would be much better off learning the mechanics of the cards as they relate to your pre-release or your draft or your FNMs than you would bothering with Two-Headed Giant if you're never going to do that. However, if your store loves Two-Headed Giant,
Yay.
and that's one of the big things that draws newer players in,
Ooh, yeah.
and it's a great time and people seem to enjoy those events, then you should be aware of how those things work. Like the card from M19 that just ends the game.
Oh yeah. So it's like each player loses half their life. Or something.
Round it up.
Round it up.
Yep.
So yeah, in Two-Headed Giant, that means each player loses half their life
The game.
for each player. So each
And it
player
doesn't.
loses all their life.
It's not half then half.
No.
It's half of the total and then half of that same total.
Yeah. So you could go to 0 or you could go to -1.
Mhm.
Wait, could you go to -1? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yes, because it's rounded up.
Yeah, but then it'd be -2.
Nope, because you're at
No,
an
it's
odd number.
-1. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I definitely wrote about that in my New Set Digest, and I remember that being the way it worked, but I had to reconvince myself that
Yep.
that was how it worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
There were definitely some people who I also like felt the same way. So I'm glad that article helped some people.
So be aware of that
Yeah.
if
Oh,
you
yeah.
need to be.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So-
All right. So we've established that there's not really any more studying that you need to do. After
Probably
that
not.
point. There's like some specific types of resources that you could check, and there's some specific types of stuff. But what else would you recommend for preparing for a new set?
As far as, well, I definitely want to know what my store is doing.
Okay.
And I know this might not be where you were going, but definitely be aware of where your store is at. Do they need you to run a pre-release event?
I thought you were talking physically. I was like, I go there for FNM every week, so I think I know where they are.
No. Does your store plan on running any Two-Headed Giant events? Does your store want to run an FNM? How often are they going to need you to judge their event? Make sure that you're aware of what your store is doing so that you can be prepared for that. That's something that I will always recommend for a new set.
Yeah.
I don't know what you were going for, but that's the answer I gave.
Okay, so logistically, there is some other stuff that you can prepare for. That's certainly some of the stuff that you were talking about. That
I can think of another thing that you probably weren't going for.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Opening announcements.
Okay.
Depending on what your store is like, whether or not you are seen as, the competitive store in town, or if you're the casual store, or maybe you mostly do Commander at your store, but, they have fun with pre-releases because they like Magic. Maybe your store is full of nothing but spikes who are interested in making the Pro Tour or the Mythic Championship. That's
what it's called.
You know how much easier it is to say Pro Tour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give it time.
Make sure you tune your announcements to that. For example, the store that I tend to do my pre-release events at is a very casual store. So the judge who is doing the announcements for the set will always go over very quickly, not to waste everyone's time, but they'll say, hey, there are a few new sets, there are a few new mechanics in the set. Just in case you need a refresher, Riot, you can either choose to have the creature enter with the +1/+1 counter or with haste.
Rito, please.
Huh?
Rito, please. Oh, you don't play League, do you?
No, I've told you that. Just so that you all are aware of what's happening. If you need any reminder text or if you need to know what a card does, please let me know so that I can help you out.
Here's some preparation, by the way, for your pre-releases. People are going to be making the Rito please meme for when they say Riot. So when someone says Rito, that's what they mean. That's what they're referring to, is the Riot mechanic.
Oh?
Yeah, it's because it's like spelled wrong. It's like when someone's it's like the same way as how like when someone's typing, they make a typo. So that typo. What you can think of a way that's in real life too. Like, okay, maybe not. But
I'm so lost here.
Okay, so if someone says Rito in the pre-release, they mean the Riot mechanic. That's what they mean.
All right, got it.
Yeah, because that's the same 4 letters, but in a different order. Because someone made a typo when they were talking about Riot, the company, and they spelled out Rito. So yeah, there you go.
Cool.
Yep.
So make sure you have that available in your own repertoire. Yeah?
Yeah, so that I can say that I helped you with that.
Joke's on you. I'm not judging pre-release.
Yeah, well, guess that could help.
You
you think Riot's going to be in Standard?
In Standard?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, there you go.
There's some good ones.
There you go.
Ha!
The Riot
judge No, I do.
I was going to say, you're at SCG Indy, right? Might judge Standard with some Riot cards there.
I'm going to request to do sides all weekend.
Oh,
and then with my sides lead, never do Standard. And not do ODEs. I'm going to make it happen, Dave.
Yeah, that'd be a tough one. If you go the entire weekend without seeing a Rakdos card, yeah, that'd be pretty impressive. Actually, no, Rakdos Rakdos is not Riot, even though they're Guild Lord is the Lord of Riots. Kind of interesting how that worked out, but I guess that's the breaks there.
Bad beats.
Yeah.
Yes. So be aware of what you're going to say to players for a pre-release event. So what were you actually trying to get at?
All right. So the original question, for those of you who were not with us during the time when I was talking about the original question, was what kind of preparation can you do that doesn't involve studying, right? Mm-hmm. Like, obviously we talked in the first the previous like half hour-ish about different types of preparation that involved, like, you read the cards, you read the set FAQs, you read the mechanics articles. What can you do that isn't studying to prepare for a new set? And the biggest thing that I want to recommend is play with the cards. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I said without studying, and that's kind of a cheat, because that is actually studying. Playing with the cards is actually studying, but it's also playing. It still has the word playing in it, so it's still fun. But like we were saying before, you want to trick yourself into studying, because nobody wants to actually study. It's but if you can like trick yourself into studying, then you can do that. So play with the actual cards.
But David,
yeah.
how do I play with the cards before pre-release?
I mean, like it's preparing for the new set, not preparing for the pre-release.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you go to like the midnight pre-release and give yourself a caffeine IV for when you judge like the 10 a.m. one the next day. I don't know how people do that. I would not do that if I were you.
I value sleep. I have been to one midnight pre-release, and I was really ready to
Do
go
they at
home.
least cap the rounds?
I was the store I go to always does 3 rounds.
Okay.
I was ready to go
one,
home
that's
after the
awful.
first event.
Yeah, it's
And-
literally awful.
And I'm really glad I wasn't judging the event, because as soon as match 3 was done, gone.
Yeah.
Did always play aggro.
Or like ID in the last round too. That's another possibility that you could do.
Not at a pack per win store.
Was
Yeah.
that the first time they'd ever run a midnight pre-release or something?
No, it's just how it always
Well, I guess they knew to cap the rounds. So okay. So the bottom line is play with the cards. Playing with the cards is the best way to study, and I'm sure you could like read like some articles on like Channel Fireball or Star City Games or whatever website you go to for your Reddit. Another
a good official resource.
well, it's a good resource nonetheless. People talking about this stuff, but it's Reddit, so.
If you would put yourself in the camp of brewers, go brew with the new cards.
Yeah.
Try to make them work. Try to see what you enjoy playing in Magic, and try to make that happen. Because the best way for yourself, if you really enjoy deck building, to figure out the new mechanics is figure out what you can do with them.
Yeah.
Because that, I guarantee, is going to feel a lot less like studying than it is having fun.
Absolutely. Anybody in the chat have any stuff you like to do when the new set season is happening or when new cards are coming out to help you get prepared for when you are going to first encounter these cards in a Magic tournament setting? If anyone out there has anything that they'd like to suggest, we definitely would read it and consider reading it out loud for everybody. Well, I'm not just gonna like make a blanket statement. I've made that mistake before.
Yeah, you made a lot of mistakes. You let me on this podcast.
I mean, like
Judge
if you want to get your like stuff read out guaranteed, you gotta like do the subscribe thing, right?
Yep.
Like you've seen
Donate
that
bits,
that before, like with the streamers that has like if you donate, then you can like write a message and they'll
It's got to
like,
be a $2 minimum.
read
Yeah.
the message out loud. Yeah. So yeah, maybe we could implement something like that for people who want to make me say stupid stuff on stream. But until that time happens,
Got it. If you go to YouTube and subscribe to our page and comment on this video, I will read out a message next time.
yeah, I bet you will. We only need like 35 more subs.
And if it's a
on
dumb
YouTube.
message, I'll write my own message and I'll read that one.
Yeah. So okay, there you have it. Dalton is gonna embarrass himself in front of a potentially large audience of people
For
in
you.
our next broadcast, just for you.
Yeah.
Doing it for the subs.
So things that I enjoy doing when I go through a new set, I'm selfish.
Yeah.
I always look for cards for Modern because Modern is my favorite serious format. Like, Commander's definitely what I love the most.
We call those tournament formats, Dalton.
Oh, okay. So Commander's where I really enjoy playing. I like multiplayer, but as far as playing tournament formats, Modern's definitely my favorite.
Sure.
So when I go through a new set, I always look at cards that I think would be great for either my Modern deck that I currently run or potential Modern decks that I've thought about running that maybe aren't
They're like one or
quite
two cards
there.
away from being good.
Yeah. So for example,
Helix Pinnacle.
I play a Naya Blitz deck in Modern. Reckless Bushwhackers and Bolts, Boros Charms, all sorts of fun stuff. I want to end the game quick.
Yeah, mono red, book splash green for like creatures.
Yeah, no, Naya. So there's a new card coming out in Ravnica Allegiance that is green-red. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, it seems
I
like
have to like
less.
type the name in order to.
I don't know the name. cast a spell with CMC 3 or less, I believe it's CMC, deals 1 damage to them, and then you can pay 1 and sacrifice it to Destructive Revelry something.
All right.
And I
Dalton,
think it's
you better
sweet.
keep talking until I find what the name of this card is.
Okay. Well, I see that, and I'm like, great. That's really cool. Oh, my bad. Not CMC 3 or less. It is Cinder Vines. And hopefully it is in our machine. Yes, it is. Whenever an opponent casts
This is
a
the
non-creature
card.
spell, it deals 1 damage to that player, and you can pay 1 and sack it to Destructive Revelry something, which is sweet. And I might try it in my Modern deck in place of Destructive Revelry.
Yeah.
Because I think it might have a really cool impact.
Might have the links for it.
Also, while looking at this card, I noticed that the goblin-looking thing in the picture, her thumb is backwards. On the hand that is up in the air like this, her thumb appears to be on the wrong side.
That's a result of the Cinder Vines, maybe.
Possibly. And I was like, okay, well, maybe goblins are just made different on this world. But the pinky on the other hand is not as big as the thumb on the top hand.
Interesting.
So I'm pretty certain they just put the thumb on the wrong side.
All right, shots fired, Mark.
Yep.
Mark Ben. Shots fired.
I'm coming for you, man.
All
Sorry,
right,
Mark.
So let me see. I had a card that I was going to talk about here.
Fireblade Artist.
That one was definitely one of them.
Cool. I haven't even seen that one before.
Yeah.
Man, I should pay more attention to spoilers. But I have, whenever cards like this are printed, I'll send them into a group chat to a few of my friends and say, hey, what do y'all think of this card? What are our thoughts here?
Yeah,
Because I like brewing.
This is my pick for being a playable card out of new format.
That is some sweet art. I want that on playmat.
Yeah, probably will be. Steve Argyle definitely makes great art.
Cool. You may sack
our
a creature.
he's our friend from the Midwest, so we definitely be sure to give him a shout out.
Hey, look, a potential problem child.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so.
Hey, Dave, can I
Yeah?
sack Fireblade Artist to deal 2 damage to something?
Yeah, sure, why not?
But if it's sacrificed, then it can't do the damage, right?
So that's actually not how that works. But hey, maybe they'll change the rules.
Yeah. So look at me identifying problem children right on the spot.
So
Ooh,
another thing that he identified, and this is a pretty good segue, is like let's say you're a judge, right? So if you're a judge,
I am.
people are probably going to ask you some questions about like how the new cards work or how the new mechanics work, right?
I would assume so.
Has that ever happened to you, Dalton?
Are you kidding me? I've had questions about the new mechanics.
It's maybe happened to me once or twice also. So here's the thing. Anytime you answer these questions, you probably want to like put an asterisk at the end of your answer and be like, unless they change the rules.
Yep.
Because that's definitely come up before. Sometimes cards don't work, and so they have to change the CR so that they do work. And in times like that, you could answer the question based on what the old rules are, and if they change things, then it's the new rules, and so that the answer isn't the same anymore.
When I took my I think it might have been my level 2 practice test, I got a question wrong because of that. Because rules had very recently changed in a set that came out, and I didn't know about the change. The card in question was a Resilient Kenra.
Oh yeah, I definitely.
I believe Kenra has an H in it after the K.
One time?
Yeah. So when this set came out, there was a change to the rules that if a creature would apply -X
Oh, yeah.
when it is supposed to apply a positive, you instead apply 0.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what this would be is
So if
when the
you-
Resilient Kenra enters with the trigger on the stack, someone casts Tragic
Dismember.
Slip on it. Dismember, sure.
Yeah, Dismember is
You
a
give it
card that
-5, -5 until end of turn. Now Resilient Kenra's at 3/3. So does that mean the creature I target now gets -3, -3? With this set, they changed it so that instead it just gets +0, +0. So because of that, I got a question wrong on my test. But if someone had asked you what would happen with Resilient Kenra before the set came out, what would the answer have been? It probably would have been it gets -3, -3, because
Yeah.
it says equal to its power.
Yeah, exactly.
But they changed the rule.
So yeah, great example of how they change stuff like that. So that's another thing. Like when people ask you these questions, you want to be prepared for that also, and mentally prepare yourself to be telling people that, like, yeah, you know, they do change how stuff works from time to time. So usually that's going to be related to like new cards or cards that like do something that hasn't been done before. Like, for example, Teza, we had her on stream earlier today, and that one is one that like I could see them like writing a new rule to cover that type of trigger or that type of trigger modifying ability. But you know, other stuff, like I wouldn't expect them to like make any big changes regarding, like, for example, Riot or what's Addendum, or I don't know, none of the guild mechanics seem like they would really like cause any fundamental changes in the rules.
No, probably not.
But hey, you never know, and that's the thing. Since you don't know, you have to like say that it might change.
Yeah,
it might.
And that just because it doesn't change with this set doesn't mean that something might not get printed next set that then does become problematic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How often does that happen?
Every now and then, occasionally.
Yeah.
So yeah. Those are all the types of preparation that I was going to detail. Did you have any other closing thoughts that you wanted to bring to the subject here?
Go out and have fun.
Yeah, okay. That's
have fun with your new sets.
Yeah.
Because it's a really cool time. I'm going to sound really lame and nerdy and overly sentimental here, but like when a new set comes out, the format is basically wiped clean.
Yeah.
And people will get to do and try and play everything. And that doesn't just apply to standard.
Until Blue Eyes Control reestablishes itself as the dominant strategy.
When I was in Columbus this weekend, I think I heard at least 6 or 7 people talk about, and not with me, but just overhearing conversations about, like, oh man, that card in Intruder Alarm, it's going to be sick.
Yeah.
And,
new Birthing Pod, Prime Speaker, and new Birthing Podder. Which
I can tell you right now is going to be a bad deck.
Speak for yourself there, Nolan.
It's going to be a bad deck. Dies to Doomblade.
Turn 5 Emrakul.
Dies to Doomblade.
A word with you. Emrakul doesn't die to Doomblade. It has protection from clear.
The
Vannifar. Crappy Birthing Pod might die.
Yes. But I might be wrong.
That'd be pretty sweet, that word.
Yeah.
Hey, did you know that Intruder Alarm is in Modern?
Intruder Alarm is Modern legal.
It's an expedition.
At a GP, I was in a double-up event once, and I beat a guy playing a Cats deck that went to go infinite off of Intruder Alarm and Pride Sovereign, which is tap it and exert it, and create 2/1/1 cats. So his whole deck was designed at just going infinite with cats. I had the bolt when he got it out. But yeah, that was his deck. And this was when Hour of Devastation just came out. It was Hour of Devastation limited.
Did you say he was
GP.
devastated?
He was devastated. The guy I played in the next round was super salty. That was even better. He was playing Affinity, and I beat him with my Naya deck. And his salt. So
yeah, if you're an Affinity player, you're probably not looking forward to new sets, because the chances that you get something versus the chances that, like, you know,
you get
destroy target artifact, you know, and you get to punch your opponent in the face. Like, that's probably the next iteration of that effect that they're gonna put out.
Yeah.
They have what's the one now? It's like 3 mana destroy all artifacts. They have like some new artifact kill spell in Ravnica Allegiance. It's like, maybe it's 4 mana, but it like destroys all artifacts, and it's like some other ability that might be relevant.
I don't know, but the new Destructive Revelry on the stick thing is
that.
real great against KCI.
Yeah.
Because whenever you cast a spell, whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to them.
Yeah. So they can't go infinite as much.
They get 20 chances.
Yeah. Usually the loop doesn't kill you before then.
Unless they have Nature's Claim on their own artifact. Yeah. And then they have 24 chances.
Yeah, well, I guess the real one would be Nature's Claim on your thing, right? Like, because it's a enchantment. Yeah. So yeah, that was all the advice that we had. I hope everybody had an awesome time coming in and joining us today for this discussion. Until next time, this is Dave Eldon and Dalton Grimes with Judging for the Win signing out. Have a great evening, everybody.
Take care, friends.